All right, hello there, and welcome to Dharma Science Radio. My name is Ian. I'm a 1-3 emotional inner authority generator or a type. And today we're actually doing something a bit different. Today we're not going to be talking so much about the human design system. Today I've brought along a friend of mine who I've met from Dan Winter's Discord server. And if you've been following me for a little while, you probably already know about Dan Winter and my perspective on him as somebody who has given some radical answers for problems that mainstream science still pretends aren't solved, basically. And yet, even farther different from that, we're also talking about cryptocurrencies and what's happening in the world today relative and the different projects that my friend is working on. So if you would kindly introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, just want to say thanks a lot for having me on here, and I really love these subjects. Everything that the show talks about is, my passion. Really, truly appreciate all the knowledge that's shared here and shared with your community, and that's, in my opinion, that's how we evolve as a species. We're a collective consciousness and collective beings, and being able to share true information, or at least life-changing information, and just at the very least meaningful information, is just truly part of what I want my life to be part of anyways. And cryptocurrencies tend to be bridging the gap here, or well, not bridging the gap. They are total extremes when it comes to nature, and then cryptocurrency, then there's a lot of extremely different, big differences there. But cryptocurrency does have a spiritual component, so that I think not exactly a spiritual component, but a component about cryptocurrency that allows people to have the freedom. I mean, if they pursue the crypto world the correct way, which is you got to learn a lot in order to know the correct way, but if you're able to do that, what crypto does have the power to do is kind of like give you that freedom to be your most spiritual self. Like if you're earning money just from your cell phone, and you're earning enough money to live, and you can do it right all on your cell phone, you can travel the world and do all these other things. I mean, I would think that cryptocurrency could be one of the most beneficial aspects of exploring the world, and without worrying about it financially. And so when I learned about crypto back in 2014, that was it for me. I was like, wow, that's, if there's any, I mean, 2014, it was still very fringe. I mean, literally all the way up to like 2020, it's been pretty fringe. Some people would say it's still fringe, but but no, I mean, there's hundreds of millions of people who are in crypto now, and hundreds of thousands of businesses around the world, and retail outlets, and all that good stuff. They're all using crypto. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here to talk about, what aspects that I am building, and aspects where I think I am helping. And once again, just wanted to say thanks a lot for having me here. I look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. It's so good to hear from you. And I definitely agree with that notion of being able to generate life-sustaining revenue simply by having a cell phone in your pocket or by having access to a computer, being able to utilize the internet and the technologies available to us today in order to continue living in a good way that's different from the way our ancestors have lived, different from the way our parents have lived, different from the way other people still live today, and being able to embrace the fact that we don't have to live a statistically normal life to be fulfilled. And so I just want to clarify something right here is that your name is BitMat, correct? And not Bob Thomas, just to clarify for anybody who's
Yeah,
watching.
on Discord, the name is BitMat. So yes, with Google, it made me sign in with a test account that I barely ever use and haven't used for a long time. And yeah, so that's just that's why it says Bob Thomas. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't use Google or Gmail very much at all, actually.
Yeah, gotcha, gotcha. It's so funny because like in this technological world, there are so many different branches of groups and sources we can use for all kinds of different things. And I found that I've actually had this same Gmail since like 2005 or so. And so something about that still like something about that I appreciate that. It's a real old legacy. It's one of the oldest things in my life that's still around. So I'm happy to be able to keep using it.
Oh yeah. If it works, it works.
And y- yeah, exactly, exactly. And so I'd like to ask you about what you're working on in the crypto space. If you could share something about that.
So in I've been in crypto since I mentioned about 20, learned about it 2014, learned about it 2015, started investing in it 2016, started building in it in 2020, well, yeah, about 2020, 2021, in that time frame around the quote COVID time frames. Because I mean, what else did we have to do? And so, I mean, uh, so there's a lot of so the crypto world is pretty intense, right? You got your main cryptocurrencies like your Bitcoin and your then you have the altcoins, which are like the top 100 coins after Bitcoin, which includes Ethereum and Solana and Cosmos and Link and XRP and all those really common cryptos that you kind of hear most of the banks and institutions all starting to create ETFs for all these altcoins because they're multi-billions of dollars in market cap, each one of them. So they've hit the par. They've been around long enough for institutions to start listing them as ETFs, and so that's a whole that's really you delve in leverage trading and all sorts of crazy trading with the altcoins and Bitcoin. But where I am mostly, where I spend most of my time, is in the other realm of crypto known as the meme coin space. And that space is the space where builders go to start on the absolute ground floor. You can launch your own token for free now. Now, managing your token and running your token, if it's free, if you have no funds to manage it or run it or market it, then it's like, just like any other business, right? Like if you can't push it or you can't market your coin, then or you got nothing interesting about your coin, like nothing unique or nothing that people see value in it, well, then it's going to be pretty difficult for you to have anything successful. But on the other hand, if you have enough capital, if you have the right community and the right network, and you have the right ideas, there's no better opportunity for the average Joe that exists, in my opinion, than in cryptocurrencies. In terms of bringing money in and bringing it in very fast and changing your life very fast. I don't think there's any industry that can do that like crypto can. And the meme coin space puts you in a position where you actually start to build, like you actually start to learn all of this stuff. And you got to start to learn all the very small little intricacies throughout managing a chart and what kind of how you push a project, like what kind of marketing actually does work for a project, like who to the which networks to meet and collaborate with. All of those really important life building, business building, experience building skills that you get, they all exist like in the meme coin space. And there's so many people in the same position that you are. And so everybody's trying to help everybody. And I mean, that's the beautiful side. The other side is there's more scammers in crypto than there is in many other industries. But even in the real world, there's so many scams that we all subscribe to and we even put money into. When you look into what is a Ponzi scheme, the traditional finance world is pretty much all a Ponzi scheme, and like the top 1% make the most money, and 401ks and all these things are always at risk and being depleted slowly, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, I don't like to say that crypto is just loaded with, I think all of our monetary systems are loaded with scams. But crypto, they have some really, there's some really vindictive and nefarious, and there's just a lot of like very smart scammers, and stuff like that. So it is a different level of like of scam, and but that's the negative side. And you know what, you can really, there's a lot of ways to defend against that in the crypto space, like lots of ways. And the best way is to build a community first, and just learn from what they're teaching, and then you won't get scammed. Like you won't, like, it's not that hard to learn how to avoid these malicious bad actors that exist throughout crypto. And like I said, one of the best ways to do that is to just start building, creating a community. And that's where I'm at right now, is building and lots of things. I know you asked me what I'm building, but it's a long tangent, so I'll let you respond to that if you had any questions before I continue the tangent.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I really appreciate how you were willing and open to share about the binary of the situation in crypto. The fact that, yes, there is that potential for dramatic life-changing wealth to occur. There's such radical upside potential for crypto. And at the same time, there's such radical downside potential of crypto. In the same way that one could gain everything materialistically, financially, one could also lose everything that they've put up at risk. And
Yeah.
in this world of modern technology, the risks and the scams, they've gotten more and more clever, and they can capture almost anybody without vigilance. Anybody who's not really paying attention to the signs and signals that their body gives them relative to what life is presenting. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to be able to be aware of that fact and to be clued into communities that are worth paying attention to. Like for myself and my story of crypto is I had used it long time ago. I had Bitcoin back in the day and I never held on to it. And I remember back in the day, my friends were laughing. We were laughing at school back when I was in high school, even like 2010 or so. And we were laughing at Bitcoin being valued at about 2 pennies each. And lo and behold, nowadays it's at around 100,000 or so. So such dramatic change can occur within our lifetimes that if we're paying attention, we can really receive massive benefit. And I think it's really important to be clued into some good communities about that in order to protect oneself from all the scams that are out there. Because I myself, I had invested in, I think it was around that 2020 time, excuse me, I had invested in crypto and I had lost about 75% or more of my entire investment due to
Yep.
bad trades and
Yep.
essentially emotional investing. Like I found
Yep.
my emotions were really being kind of thrown through a loop with how quickly the number changes because it's always moving and it's always changing. And even if there's statistical likelihoods, it doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. And so it was just driving my mind crazy until I finally calmed down a bit and learned to pay attention inside myself. And I started to care more about what doesn't change, which is what brought me to my own inner authority and type strategy and trusting my body for decision making. And that's why I appreciate there are so many people out there who are built for this kind of work in a way that I found that I'm not. And so what do you think about the crypto communities and what is your perspective around that?
Well, the crypto community is vast and many. So there are many. Just imagine like a high school move, like a high school scene where you got these cliques of kids everywhere, and like a group of these guys sitting at that table in the cafeteria, and a group of those guys sitting at the other table, and like that's like a lot of what crypto is like in a lot of ways. Some parts of it turns a little bit culty, but it's not like a nefarious cult. It's just like people love their projects so much that they pretty much turn into zealots, and and they just go around and and really push projects. And it's cool and funny in many ways, and so I do kind of appreciate it. Like the cult mentality is more of like a like people actually like to hear that word. They're not actually trying to be like real life, religious cults or whatever. So I don't think they're really using the right words, but cult is like a very common word, and it's actually like a totally accepted word. Like if you're a really strong community, people start saying we're a cult, you guys. Like we got this. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, we're a community, but sure, okay, go ahead, call yourselves a cult. But I mean, not everybody, is pro. It does says cult, but many people do, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of derogatory spit talk, and like you got to really be kind of built for the communities. That's one kind of forewarning I got to give you. I mean, there's a lot of like really good intentioned projects, but you still get like what they call degens, right? Like that's another like really promoted word throughout the meme coin space. Is if you're a degen, you're on par with like most of the people in crypto. So that's another just like another commonly or commonly used, commonly accepted, like even people take it as a compliment in some regards, because many of these degens are extremely wealthy, right? And they're like, yeah, I mean, I made tens of thousands of dollars off of a JPEG of a fly, like, and that's really what happens in this space. And and it's absolutely
It is
nuts.
absurd, and it's true.
So, but on the other end, like that's the degen side, but on the other end, there's really a very beautiful business atmosphere, like a very collaborative, uh, uh, community based, hey, let's educate everybody. Let's help everybody learn. This is the future of finance. This is that we're never going to go another year of our life without hearing 1,000 news stories about crypto anymore. Like this is just really what stage we're in. We're in the stage where if you can't beat them, join them. And that's literally like where we're at. And so everybody's starting to join. And so I'd say overall in the crypto space, you have 50% of the brains are focused on business, 30% of the brains are focused on business, but also being a very obnoxious degen. And then the other 20% is like people that are just brand new, learning, trying to find out, trying like sponges, just trying to soak up any information that they can learn. And so that really creates quite a dynamic environment in crypto. And you always have the chance of tomorrow making a whole lot of, let's just say, you always have the chance at any day, at any time, to make a lot of money. And in many cases, you have the chance to change your life within, a 24-hour time period. Is it likely that you change your life in 24 hours? In some respects, yeah, there are stories where, people are become rich overnight. Like and those stories are more common in crypto than probably any other industry that exists from what I've seen. But, is it like still really common to make money and become rich overnight? No, it's not very common within the crypto world. But like I said, it's a common story to hear in the crypto world because it does happen a lot. However, if you know the right people, like you can set yourself up in a position where almost any investment that you make is literally at no risk of loss with a massively big upside. And so when you can kind of position yourself in those types of ways, only having a strong community is how you would position yourself in that way. Only knowing the right people is how you would position yourself in that way. And so that's kind of like the most important part when you start getting into crypto is to really just start joining those VC groups where people just hang out and chat and get your knowledge out there. If you know some unique things, it doesn't matter. All topics are discussed, like anything you could think of, health, spirituality. It just depends on which community you're in. And there's always some people there that are like, hey, I know this community. Why don't you join these guys? And it's just a really great, beautiful thing. On communities are so diverse and so accommodating in many ways. And so yeah, I'd say the community aspect of crypto is not only the most important part of a crypto project, but it's probably the best reason why so many newbies and normies and new learners are pouring into the industry as we speak.
Yeah, I love that. That's such an awesome answer because I find that community is something that's always been very important to myself as well. And it's something that drew me into the current crypto society that I'm involved with. And it's the only space that's left that I've really kind of been like, well, I trust these people here. and it's called the Toker Society, and it's because I met Sativa a few years back, and we had like an hour and a half long conversation, spur of the moment, and felt a great connection. And it was like, wow, there are actual human beings in the crypto world who are working on building projects with genuine heart that are, for in this case, working to bridge the old world of the old internet, Web 2, and the physical world with Web 3, this new world wherein we're actually decentralized, we can communicate with each other. We're not so controlled and restricted by centralized authorities, and we have a little bit more freedom to live a good life together, and we can build that as a community with the right mindset and the right behaviors as we live our lives. And
Yeah,
so it was actually similar to how I met you, Matt, in that case, because we just kind of met and had a phone call, and all of a sudden we're diving in for like an hour or longer, and we're having a good time, and there's so much to talk about. And
yeah, hmm,
it's
yeah,
why I'm
100%.
grateful to have been made your connection. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. I was just saying 100%. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And it's why I'm so grateful to have met such good connections then, because it finally gives me a space wherein I feel like, regardless of what's happening in the markets as a whole, I know that I'm working with people who I can genuinely trust to have their heart and soul in what they're doing. And so it doesn't matter if this or that coin does this or that, because I know I'm working with good people doing good work. And so I'd like to invite you to share whatever you'd like to share about maybe any more specific projects that you're working on yourself, anything that's maybe exciting and up and coming, or anything that you're doing that's already out that kind of demonstrates of what presence this character of BitMat has in the Discord and crypto space.
Yeah, definitely. So what I've noticed in crypto a lot is that it's very hard to find people to trust, right? It's very hard to find people with who it's hard to hold people accountable for their terrible trading actions because many people really maliciously trade. They destroy charts, they destroy projects, and that's what you get with an unregulated market. Like that's just the reality, which it is what it is. But so since that has been such an issue, not being able to hold people accountable other than keeping track of their wallet and watching their wallet wherever it goes, and that's like a level of accountability that you can do. But what we ended up doing was building a platform where uh, you can hold people accountable, where anybody who signs up to it, which is totally free, will be put into a gamified point system, like which is determined by leaderboards. We got but we've got at least four leaderboards within the website. So the whole process is just what happens is you connect your social media. We're starting with X. We're starting with Twitter X because crypto Twitter is like that's like an entire world, like people, there's an entire community of millions of people on crypto Twitter. So that's where a lot of the activity happens. And so what we do is we want to give people the opportunity to build their reputations, and by doing that, they would have to, and if they want to build their reputation, then have like a page, like a profile page explaining how good of a holder they are, how good of a trader they are, how good of a community member are they? How active are they on social media? All those really important things that any project manager would want to know about a person, right? We create a platform where you can you can prove to anybody looking for someone who needs help your work ethic. You can prove it. Instead of, it's no longer word of mouth, and you have a point system that is determining your actions, every action that you do on Twitter, which includes commenting, liking, bookmarking, replying, posting your own post, any interaction whatsoever, followers that you get and gain, or or bring to a project, you all get points, and then your points are then, you're on a 24/7 leaderboard that anybody can see at any time. And basically it shows right then and there on the leaderboard, hey, you have this many points. And so now people who are interested in learning more about you, they'll click on your name on that leaderboard, and you have like a range of profile stats there that are all voluntary, right? Like, it's up to you. The only thing that's involuntary is you, in order to sign up to the platform, you have to attach your Twitter username. Like, that's the only way to get in, because that's your accountability portion. And so getting in with that, other than that, you automatically get, when you do sign in, you automatically already get pointed onto a leaderboard. And if there's a specific project you're trying to shill or whatever, promote, um, you just need to tell me the keywords of that project. First, we're going to vet that project and make sure it's not a scam. And then we're going to vet, anybody else who has any suggestions. We're going to make sure that person is not a scammer. So, we definitely will be vetting things. But after the vetting process, we will put keywords in the system. So whenever you mention those keywords in Twitter in any way, shape, or form, or you interact with someone who mentions those keywords, what happens is every one of those actions are they give you points. And not only do they give you points, but if you're scrolling through someone's profile, you can see every single thing they did on Twitter. You can look at every post that they interacted with right there on your own dashboard. And if that person also attached their wallet to their account, you can monitor their wallet as well. I think this would be particularly useful for project managers who raise a big pre-sale and want to manage the pre-sale wallets. So all you have to do then on this platform is you would require everybody to give you their wallet address, which is a normal process when you're doing pre-sale. Excuse me. And then you would just have to input those wallets in. That takes like 5 seconds. You just copy and paste the wallet address in there, and then all of a sudden on your profile page on your dashboard, you can manage and watch every single one of the wallets. You can also, if you're a project manager who has a rating team, right, like you can put the entire rating team underneath you on your profile on your dashboard, so you can manage and watch your entire rating team. You can see all the points they are making, you can see all the actions they are taking, and like I said, you can also monitor their wallets if that's part of the rating team as well, for whatever reason, if they're pre-salers or whatever. And it doesn't have to be pre-sale for wallet following. You can input any wallet at any time during any process of a project, and its growth. And so if you just want to monitor whale wallets, or if you want to monitor somebody who's swinging the chart, and you really want to keep an eye on that person, and there's just a lot of useful tools on that platform. And then we also have an entire suite of utilities that people will have access to for both individuals for their own researching purposes, and also for project creators and project managers. We have utilities that will help you build your project. And for those who might not understand what utilities are, they're basically software. They're pretty much software that's coded into the social media platforms that we use to promote cryptocurrencies. And so Telegram and Discord are very, very popular for cryptocurrency. And so what people do is they code these, what are called bots, or you can call them utilities. And these bots and utilities, and a lot of it is Web3 coding. I mean, the entire website platform I'm explaining to you it's all Web3. Um, uh, so so basically, coders are very, very valuable. Yeah, AI is kind of messing that whole thing up too, because now AI can just code things in seconds. But there's still a really big market, for coders who are genuine people who are really good at what they're doing, who have a track record, and who have built really good bots and utilities and whatnot. And you still have a chance, but I don't know how much longer that chance is gonna run for. So yeah, and that's the platform. It's basically a big accountability gamified platform that gives people the opportunity to showcase their work, their efforts, and not just for the individual, but also for the community. because we have community leaderboards as well, where you can compare communities, and how they're working and how strong those communities are, and then it'll help you decide which ones you want to join and stuff like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so this is all under one unified umbrella, correct?
Yeah, yep. It's called SOS, Social Fi on Sol. And SocialFi is a really big thing on a lot of different crypto chains. And so we brought it over to Solana. One of the first projects. We actually are the first of our kind to create the type of platform that we've created, even though there are similar platforms, but not even close to what we've built, but they're on other chains. So we're like the first of our kind for now.
Got you, got you. And so you mentioned this is with Twitter, and it seems like there's a Twitter login that's required as part of it. Is there any interest or plans towards integrating other social medias, such as, say, YouTube or Instagram or something else?
Yeah, we actually already had TikTok, Instagram, YouTube already set up, but then we removed it because we want to focus on crypto Twitter first, and then we'll branch out from there as we grow.
Very cool, very cool. That's sensible. I'm happy to hear that. As somebody who primarily uses, well, YouTube first more than the other services, but still, it's good to hear that there is such profound, real energy put into being able to be accountable in a space wherein there is such a deep lack of accountability that's going around. And so being able to really pay attention and to simplify this process, I think is really helpful. And the fact that you're
Absolutely.
working on Solana too, I think is awesome because the Toker Society that I come from in the crypto space, we're also working on Solana primarily. And I feel like there's a lot of good energy around this ecosystem.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. I mean, Solana is really its own beast. It's really like the saying goes, if you can't make it, or if you can make it on Solana chain, you can make it on any other chain. Uh, that's kind of how it goes because the competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tens of thousands of projects that launch every day on Solana, so it's like the competition is just absolutely nuts. And out of those 10,000
That's huge.
projects, yeah, out of 10,000, 9,500 of them are probably scams. So, but there, excuse me, but there's you know, um, there's scams on every single chain. So like on Ethereum, which is, everybody says the most credible chain. I mean, I started on Ethereum. I got rugged on Ethereum just as many times as I've been rugged on Solana. So, it is what it
Yeah.
is. You just got to know how to navigate the space. And I haven't been rugged in a very long time now that I know the right people. And I have a wallet that even has like a win rate of 91 out of 91 wins because I kind of just like
Oh,
knew where to go and knew the right people. And it's not like big dollars, maybe 10% profit here, 5% profit there, 25% there, a few really big, 10X's, 20X's or whatnot here and there. But
uh-huh,
ultimately it's
uh-huh.
just, smaller trades that have given me a really great, for that one wallet. There are other wallets, where I've been just straight rugged. I put in $150, it disappeared within 10 seconds, stuff like that. But I don't really get into those types of projects anymore. That's like a year ago where I really got into that stuff and on Solana when Solana started going crazy, because that's about when it was. It was going nuts about a year and a half ago. People started just piling onto Solana and like it was the next best thing in crypto, which it kind of was, because even though it's been around for so long already, one of the OG altcoins, it just didn't really, it actually had a lot of bad, there's a lot of negativity about Solana. I actually thought at one point it was going to fail, that it was going to collapse in on itself, and then all of a sudden, boom, and now it's the most volume rich chain in the entire crypto space. All the biggest like people are starting to launch on Solana, at least meme coins. You know, when it comes to utility coins,
Mm.
people tend to stick on Ethereum and whatnot. But when it comes to meme coins, which is where the craze of crypto really happens, you know, that's Solana for you.
And you know, it's really surprising to me because I'm not a programmer, I'm not a coder. I intentionally didn't get into that field when I was younger because it didn't quite light me up in the way that it could or that other things did.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, from my understanding, Ethereum was basically the proof of concept that Bitcoin could do smart contracts in a sense. And so it's like, boom, you can actually run code on the blockchain. This is brand new. This is amazing. And it was also full of a lot of, well, you know, this was blazing new trails, so there's still a lot of bugs. And then say Solana and other newer coins like maybe Mina or some other really lightweight coins that can be really fast and efficient with zero knowledge proofs and all these fancy things. It surprises me that people still want to use Ethereum. I remember when there were $500 gas fees just to move a JPEG. That was crazy.
Yeah, yep, exactly. I remember that too. That's the reason why people stopped using Ethereum too. That's why Solana took over because people were done paying those. You know, even on small trades, you know, you could be trading $50 and you're still paying $10, $15 in gas fees on that. And like people are just like, yeah, nope, I'm done. And then Solana came to, you know, show that they're like less than a few cents on every trade. And that's kind of why like Solana just started going nuts because it was super fast. And you could streamline pretty much anything. Like the coding is actually a pain in the butt on Solana, you know, the Rust you know, program that a lot of programmers use and whatnot, the platform, the Rust platform and all the other coding platforms, Python and whatnot. But I guess it's just Rust. I'm not a coder. I don't know all the technical words or anything, but I've worked with plenty of them, and many of them just say, "Look, Rust is a pain. Like coding on Solana is really difficult." But you know, in the over the last 6 or 7 months, I've seen just a tremendous amount of utilities popping up on Solana. So they're certainly upgrading it, or they're certainly learning or innovating or figuring it out one way or another. And so yeah, I mean. Plus, Solana itself has a lot of great updates coming as well. Like the chain itself, there's still a lot of great things coming in the future. So, I mean, the sky's the limit. We're still at the infantile stage, and that's what's so exciting about cryptocurrency. We're at an infantile stage, and there's tens of billions of dollars circulating the meme coin market every single day. Like that's just nuts. You know, like that's just an absolutely crazy thing like to realize that that people are spending tens of billions of dollars on JPEGs, you know, like every day on the internet on your phone. like like what? But you know, so it really
Yeah.
is it's really a crazy but amazingly enjoyable and lucrative and ambitious and fulfilling in many ways, especially with some of the conversations you have with people and you know, I mean, yeah, you definitely got to have a balance. You got to still keep that nature in your life. You got to still stay healthy. You got to realize all of the negative attributes of all sitting on your computer all day long and all that stuff. So like you certainly got to keep a balance there. Otherwise, you do get way too emotional in the cryptocurrency market, and then it actually ruins the experience for you because then you can't really handle the the high strung, you know, high stress type of environment that happens when you kind of don't have a lot of money and you're trying to make money, but you're too afraid to make trades because you're so emotional and it's that fear that really kills you. You know, just like fear in real life is one of the worst things for your soul. You know, that fear in crypto, that emotional component in fear is really a detriment to you in crypto. And so, like, you know, I would always say to always do your own research before putting money into anything. Anything I say is never financial advice, but you know, you can definitely just meet the right people and those stresses go away, you know, because then you'll know that you might be able to invest at a very low end maybe there's a chance they'll refund you if something bad goes wrong, or at the very least they'll give you another opportunity and just send you supply. And but it's all like, it always comes back to just knowing the right people if you want to avoid trading emotionally, and that's just very important.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's a perfect segue, really. I was just thinking about asking you around this notion of health. And as you were saying, how fear kills our souls if we really overly indulge in the fear of life. And it's very important for our health and well-being as human beings that we remember to breathe, we remember to touch grass, and we remember that we're human beings having an experience. And so I believe you were telling me that you're working in some way to bring more health awareness to Web3. Can you share something about that?
Uh, yes. Sorry, one second. Excuse me. So
Yeah, it's
yes.
okay. Take your time if you need a moment.
Yeah, no worries. That's my voice is all dry and raspy, so I apologize if I'm clearing my throat a lot and whatnot. But yeah, so that is one aspect of crypto that, because I did start my first half of my life being so passionate about health and fitness and and human potential in general, epigenetics I've been obsessed with for the last 15 years. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm partnered with some projects that are epigenetic based projects with amazing technology, and they've been in business for like 7 years, and they have like tons of thousands of users already, and just really amazing people, some of the smartest people you'll ever talk to. And I'm close friends with the people on that team, at least a couple of them, anyways. And it's just a really great connection. So they're one example of like bridging health to to the crypto world, and I want to be another one. Basically, the way I see my project, my health project being set up as is like basically a podcast style. And basically, I just have people like you who come on and talk about, your show, you talk about everything you're doing, like just a bunch of collaboration like that you do already on YouTube and with all the other people that you talk to, I'm sure. You basically just turn that into a crypto coin. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, and try to bring together people like you and others and myself. I think I have some pretty interesting insights. I can go on for hours without breaking a sentence on a lot of what Dan Winter talks about, a lot of what a lot of people talk about who focus on circadian biology and epigenetics and quantum biology. Those are really my favorite topics out of anything I talk about in terms of health, because those are the fundamental topics that improve all other aspects of your health. So why not focus on those ones, more than all the others? Because that just seems to make more sense to me. And so, as a cryptocurrency project, not only that, I work with a lot of farmers, and I manage a lot of farmers markets and all sorts of stuff as well. So I'd like to add a real world asset component to a crypto coin. So coins that add like real world assets are called RWA coins. And some of them have like real life products. Like I just mentioned, that epigenetics product, they actually have like a DNA testing kit, and that like tells you all the information of your life, your heteroplasmy and your mitochondria, and all these really amazing things that you usually have to um, get from a doctor. You can basically now just put your saliva on this little device that they have, and it literally gives you. There's a lot of these devices, I understand, but this is, and maybe I'm being biased, but this one is probably the best one I've seen, and it's the only one that's on the crypto market as well. So, and they really are a
How much,
very stacked team, huh?
yeah, if I may ask, how much are they asking for these kinds of tests?
$500 is what they're asking. So
Okay.
a little high, but I mean the intricacies that they're doing are pretty amazing. The things that they find out for people, the support system they have for people who have questions, the availability of the team, how they're always there and available. Like there's a lot of really great things that they're doing with that project, and so. But the thing is, they don't quite have, even though they do podcasts and they do some YouTube things. I don't think it's going to be done in the way that I want to do it, and so that's why I'm still kind of like trying my own to create my own crypto, my own health-based crypto. Because not only do I feel like I have a really great community who are really focused around that stuff, I've met a lot of very smart people like yourself who I would love to have on that show. And I'm already in a community on Twitter X space where we talk about this stuff and it gets the most listeners out of any other crypto topic we talk about, like total crypto people, and we end up talking about health and all of a sudden people just start pouring into the room and it's like, wow. And it just kind of shows you like how thirsty these people are to learn this information and and so like I'm like, yeah, there needs to be a coin or there needs to be something in this space that really starts to bring this type of knowledge in a big way into this space. Because the biggest thing I see with people like you, and I don't know your specific situation, but the biggest thing I see with YouTube hosts who and any other kind of hosts and podcast hosts who talk about these health subjects in such great detail, they're always underfunded in a lot of ways. And it's just like, yeah. And it's like, well, shit. I mean, then if you can if you can put a lot of value to this knowledge and then create a crypto coin with it, then you can actually start to make a lot of money with the product. Because I know how to launch projects. I've been involved in over 50 projects that have launched in over the last 2.5 years. And so like I know a lot about all that, and I'm just like, wow, we need to start building something like this, and that's kind of where we're at
Yes,
right now.
I agree entirely, because we were talking earlier about this project you're working with, the SocialFi, and how we can gamify and monetize
Yeah,
this process of basically being social online and being successful. We can
yeah,
compound that. And if you can successfully gamify and monetize the process of becoming healthy, that
exactly.
is absolutely new game. I was about to say game over, but that's actually new game plus right there. That's the next
Yeah,
step,
yeah.
you know?
New beginning. I like New Game Plus though.
Yeah.
That's better. Maybe that should be the name of the coin.
I mean,
But
dang, that would really get people's attention, because if we recognize that we can start taking care of ourselves, and
yeah,
it's really even just a motivating force, because when you realize that your energy is your life force, and if you take care of that, then you literally are the wealth, you are the currency of the electricity of your life. And the
yeah.
money is just an external presentation of what's already within you. And so if you can gamify that into a thing that tricks the brain into actually getting smarter by
Hmm.
playing, then
Hmm.
boom.
Yes, sir. You got it. You figured me out.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling kind of saturated on crypto at the moment. I'm curious a little bit more about either Dan Winter or something else health related, or this epigenetics, and like how, like this notion that, so I studied a lot of manifestation back in the day, and there was this idea about your thoughts create your reality. And
Hmm.
so I tried a lot. I tried a lot of different kind of thinking practices and how to think differently, and I found that I can think in any kind of possible way, just about. Like, my thinking is not very fixed. There's some
Sure.
semblance of logic, and there's some semblance of insight that I can not exactly rely on, but it tends to be there. And when I learned about human design, I found that my Ajna chakra, my actual seat of conceptualization, so in a sense where thinking comes from, it's undefined. So it's not consistent in relationship with any other chakra. And so I was like, oh, wow, my thinking is not fixed. Okay. And the beauty of the inner authority and type strategy of human design is that I have a method for making decisions which is independent of my thinking process. And so there is this notion that your thoughts do not determine your behaviors in truth. Your body is smart enough to make decisions for itself. And if you pay attention to your body, you can watch it make decisions that your mind would actually go, well, hold on a second. I don't know if that's strategically the most intelligent thing, because it's
Hmm.
dangerous, or I'm afraid, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
and yet you can actually learn to witness your body making different decisions, and ultimately that seems to be where health comes from, the most fundamental way. And
Yeah.
then there's all these different kinds of foods and diets and universal vibrations we can get into alignment with that are actually practical, and it takes a lot of time and effort and work to make practical out of all this mystical woo-woo stuff. So
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts or response to that?
Yeah, I think that's a really, a powerful statement you're making there. But so basically, your body subconsciously already does what it knows what it needs to do. The thing is, you just need enough energy for your body to do that at top performance, right? Like, it always comes back to how much energy you have in your body. When all else fails, go back through your lifestyle and be like, does sitting in a computer give me electrons? Does eating McDonald's give me, all this energy? Does just every action you do, just like ask yourself, like, is this a benefit up to my body, or is this a not, not? And then the more benefits you put for your body, that you do for your body, the more control you'll have over that subconscious action that your body does, at least in my opinion. So, when it comes to health, for me, it can be compared with how good can you focus. Um, and so, like, if you can, like, really focus on things, like, so for example, if you're doing something that you really love to do, right? You focus on that really intently, like, you learn all the little intricacies of what you're doing, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you love doing it, the human mind becomes very curious about it. And so you just want to continuously learn more about it while you're doing it. And, like, you can maximize that skill set of learning, and then you can kind of take a lot of the principles of what you learned there, and kind of relate them to your life in a much bigger picture. And so, like, that's why it's just super important to do what you really love doing, because then you can explore your own intellect, you can explore your subconscious mind, and, like, where it takes you, and then you can work with your subconscious mind instead of against it. And those that kind of symbiotic, the physical, the 3D world with the multi-dimensional world, like, it's almost like that. You gotta Those two things need to be just working in sync. You gotta know that you can phase in and out, but the only way to phase is to work on your focus. And another way to phase is your body needs to be healthy enough to do it. So that brings in the physical aspect. Because when you're actually phasing and going through, like, Kundalini experiences, it exhausts you a lot. And what's really literally happening is you're burning through your blood sugar stores in your body when you're like undergoing some euphoric experiences, like the peak of Kundalini, when you start feeling your brain on fire and all these really interesting things, or if you're just kind of really high from a really intense, like, breath work exercise. I've gotten so high from doing those. It's been pretty crazy. And like, basically, your ability to take those euphoric uh, moments, experiences is a better word. Your ability to take those euphoric experiences and improve upon them is also, it can be translated to your ability to kind of work in lockstep with your subconscious mind, like you were just mentioning.
Yeah, I think that's genius. I think it's brilliant because being able to work in that space wherein, oh, it's so brilliant because it's so challenging. It's almost like it reminds me of my own breathwork experiences wherein, say I've done cyclical hyperventilization like a Wim Hof style, where it's basically
Hmm. Yep.
there's this there's this rapid cycling of oxygen through the mouth, and I believe it can actually deplete oxygen in the brain, which can create psychedelic states. And I've had an experience wherein I did around 200 breaths in the hyperventilated state before I did breath retentions. And people have heard this before, and yet I love the story. It's one of my favorites, so I'll keep telling it.
Mhm.
I had an experience where I was the exact opposite of blackout drunk, is the only
Oh,
way I could describe it as an experience.
mhm,
I was
mhm.
lost in a white light of bliss wherein I forgot my eyes were open. I forgot who I was. I forgot I was alive. I forgot I was sitting indoors with the windows open and I could feel the breeze. I forgot my eyes were open and I was looking, and it was like slowly my peripheral vision came to, and I was sitting and comfortable and so relaxed and at ease, and I could finally piece together who and where and what I was and everything, and it was like, wow, from my breath, I can do that.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
powerful these vehicles are.
Hmm. It really is. I mean, breath work really is like as a personal trainer, I would I mean it's so like immediate. Like the effect from breath work is what is just so profound. Like it's such a fast and immediate effect. And so it's something you can't deny, you know, like it's something that you can't just you know, it is what it is. No, this is like something that if you do it right, it's an experience so you don't forget, you know, and like Dan Winter says all the time, he's like, you know, your mission in this life is to bring your memory through death, right? And so like the best way to actually do that is to live a fulfilling life. And the best way to live a fulfilling life is to like do things that are euphoric and have euphoric experiences. And you know, you can't sit there and do it all day every day because that's, you know, you're becoming imbalanced at that point. You'll probably go a little crazy at that point. You got to stay, you know, stay grounded and
Right.
stay balanced. But you know, generally the idea is the more often you have euphoric experiences in your life, the more fulfilling your life will be, you know, and these experiences could just be lucid dreams or kundalini experiences or, you know, intimate experiences with your partner or, you know, all those things are so powerfully charged. Like there's so much energy involved in those things that like they can take you off world if you know, if you prepare for it correctly, you're both eating the right thing, you've, you know, you've done all these like really great preparatory steps and all these things, then you can really enter, you know, very unique states of mind. You know, and these states of mind like change your life, they give you purpose. You know, there's all sorts of just they motivate you to be healthier because, you know, a lot of people like have a lot of fun drinking alcohol, but they don't know how much fun you have when you're doing a breath work with a group of people, you know, then you have a whole different variety of fun. Like, and so people stop
Yes.
caring about alcohol, you know, they actually, wow, so there is something more fun than alcohol, you know, and like it's just those types of experiences like that really compel me to say that being the best version of ourselves is like our number one human mission, because a lot of people will counteract to say, yeah, but if I'm healthy, it'll be inconvenient, it'll be impractical, and you know, but I'll be a little bit miserable or whatever. But the reality is, like, your life is most likely going to make you miserable more than actually doing this other stuff. You know, like, you know, and there's some instances where people are quite happy and they're unhealthy at the same time, which is a contradictory in itself, considering you know being happy isn't really a being happy isn't exactly a magical thing. It's the release of your happy chemicals. Like that's you know that's like if you're not releasing serotonin, dopamine, histamines, endorphins, you know you're not like you're going to be like naturally depressed. Well, you're not naturally or whatever, but you're going to be more often depressed. And so like people who live really self-destructive lifestyles, I just wonder how genuine they're being when they say how happy they are. But you know, when it comes to true happiness, like it really like it's incomparable. Like when you're doing the right things, when you're eating the right things, when you're with the right people, and you have those types of experiences that I mentioned before, like it's like a different form of happiness that totally makes the more self-destructive forms of happiness not so desirable anymore.
Yes, absolutely. I love that tangent right there. It's such a beautiful wave to share in energy, because there's so many different places. It's something I'm seeing more and more in my life where it's like I witness there are responses within me to somebody else, and yet they're going through their response. They're going through their process. So I need to hold. And then it's like, oh, there's a whole new one, and there's a new one, and there's a new one. There's so many different directions we can go in reality. And I think health is such a practical and unifying force that we can all get behind, because we all want to be happy and we all want to experience some sense of euphoria in this life, some sense of bliss. And yet there's negative connotations around those words like euphoria and bliss. They can easily sound like a trap, like another form of escapism, like
Mm-hmm.
another addiction. And what's so powerful about these experiences we can find through practices such as yoga and meditation and exercise and making love and
Mm-hmm.
basically different forms of astral hygiene, different forms of
Mm-hmm.
taking care of the subtle energy that
Yep.
makes up bodies. Because something that's been so profound to me is to truly cognize and see with my own eyes and feel with my own body that it appears to me this physical world is the consequence of what is not physical, of what
Right.
is immaterial, of what is pure energetic, vibrational energy, information in motion relative to itself and all its other selves and all these different places and all these different logical and abstract and individual pieces and parts, and how it all comes together to make this life.
Right.
It's it's such a magical journey to be alive and to be in one of these bodies. And mm,
Yeah, man, 100%. I love it. I love your perspective as well. I appreciate your sharing that as well. It's all valuable to me, and I just appreciate it. So thank you.
yeah, yeah, thank you for holding space where I can even share, because it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody who'll listen, and to be able
I
to
agree.
be with somebody who can hear something that goes outside of the normal narrative of how life and reality operates. Because yeah, there is a world of pure woo woo where it's like fluffy clouds and rainbows and butterflies and kittens and everything is perfect. And that's, I would say, that's not the physical reality in which we live. That
Right.
can also exist, and yet it's not the physical reality in which we live. And in my
Mm-hmm.
acceptance of this physical reality and the mechanics behind it, like gravity exists. If I
Mm-hmm.
let go of an apple from my hand, it'll fall to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to recognize that is the consequence of, quite literally, electromagnetic vibrational frequencies that are operating either, say, in harmony, they're operating in resonance, or they're operating in dissonance to the fundamental field that they are. And we can learn how to pay attention to what it feels like when something is in direct resonance with a truth. We can learn to feel when something is in a harmony, like a step above or a step below, and yet there's also a resonance through the harmony. And then we can also tell when something is in dissonance, when it's like, oh, well, that note doesn't sound so nice when played
Mm-hmm.
next to this note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. That's your intuition there. Your I know that's another word, intuition. But I mean, basically what is intuition? It's your connection to the things that are inevitably happening around us no matter what. It's just if your intuition is on par or improved, basically you're feeling like yeah, I mean, intuition, I think, could be translated to like a feeling, like, because you can feel certain information like more than you can other forms of information. And so when you learn enough information that you feel, you start to become so in tune with everything. Like you can start to like take a supplement and you'll know that that supplement is actually not doing anything for you. You can feel it, because your intuition is so in tuned that you can actually feel that stuff. I mean, it takes a while to get there in some cases, depending on your lifestyle, but like you can really get to certain states of just like knowing what's best for you, being a fully independent person, to the point where, we come back to relationships where, I would think the strongest relationship would be two independent people who make the conscious choice and make the conscious decision to spend a lot of their life with the other one. Like they're not doing it out of dependency, they're not doing it out of infatuation, they're doing it out of like genuine connection, you know, and that and so like those are the relationships, in my opinion, that last the longest, and also, you know, can transcend a lot of the physical world if your connection is that strong. You know, going back to those like fulfilling experiences type of conversation like we were talking about. So yeah, man. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I totally agree with your concepts, and I believe fully that you know, being the best version of yourself is just like how you tap into all these subconscious things and these intuition things and all these just these concepts of helping others and collective consciousness and all these things. They all come together even more efficiently when you are taking care of yourself. And so, you know, that there translates to, then if you take care of yourself, then you can end up helping thousands of other people. And that's why it's such a big deal to take care of yourself, because we're not here for ourselves. We're here for the collective. You know, where this is what Dan Winter calls this planet. It's like a school. You gotta learn, and the best way to learn the best lessons is to do it with other people. You know, but you know, there's also a lot of independent experiences that are really great as well. You know, it doesn't have to always be with people, but one way or another, you know, the ultimate picture that Dan Winter paints is you're just here to learn. And that just brings me to what I think the most like powerful skill we have, and it's the, you know, the fact that, you know, we live in a polarized world where there's always going to be inevitable negative situations, and then there's going to be inevitable positive situations. Like that's just how it works. Now, your ability, the way that you become a cog in that, or you know, a wrench in the cog of that system, is by you understanding and intuitively knowing in the moment the experiences you're going through, so you can take that experience and transmute it into like a positive thing. If it's like an inevitably negative situation, then your ability to take that negative situation and turn it into a positive thing is like the most important skill we have in this life, you know, because when you can do that,
Yes.
then you have a new form of control, you have a new form of connection to the self and to others, that allows you to help more other people, and people will want to listen to you. And that's, you know, really important. I think leaders are very important people.
Yes, yes, I love that so much. It's like, where is the center of gravity really?
Right.
Well, it comes down to the very center of each individual human soul, if I can put it in a simple poetic sense, because
Exactly.
that's the center of our gravity. It's the attraction that pulls in all of our experiences.
Yep. Exactly.
And when we have the courage to trust that, to trust our subconscious and our unconscious intelligence a little bit more, I truly believe we have the opportunity, each and every one of us alive today, we have the opportunity to step out of that homogenized statistical reality wherein there's all kinds of people dying from the common cold and all these other diseases and conditions that have been identified because we look at symptoms and then we discover, wait a minute, maybe it's not just the bacteria and the viruses. Maybe there's an inner and an outer environment, and there's an exchange at play between the inside and the outside. And if we pay attention to both halves of the equation, we can see a bigger picture. And so, for instance, if I pay attention to my own body and take care of myself, now that I'm influencing other people, because I'm always influencing other people, like you are too, we're all influencing everybody else we come into contact with at the very least. Because I'm paying attention to my body and I know what's good for me, I'm giving off the energy that you can care for yourself and you can take care of your body, because here's a
Hmm.
demonstration of what that looks like.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
And each and every that. And yeah.
yeah, no, dude, it's, yeah, I mean, that's what we're
Hmm.
here for, and you totally understand that, and that's a beautiful thing, man. Like, it's, you said something. I'm trying to remember what you said because I went through a whole thought process in my head, and now I forgot what you said, and I'm like, dang,
That's
'cause
perfect. That's
I wanted
a-okay.
to,
That's the real beauty of it. I'm actually at that point in my life where I try to create those moments more often. Because if I have more moments where I don't remember something amazing, it means that there's so much amazing happening, I'm having a trouble keeping up with it.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah,
like an art
exactly.
form of creating more and more of that. So on that notion, I'd like to even further something you were saying earlier about, say, Dan's perspective on our purpose as people is that we're not necessarily here only for ourselves, we're here for the collective.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
that through the perspective of human design and rave cosmology, as human beings alive today, technically, mechanically, we are here for the individual of who we are. And some individuals are more here for the individual. Some individuals are more here for the tribe, which is like the family, the group.
Hmm.
And some
Hmm.
individuals are more here for the collective, which is more of a newer process that's rooted in our logical and abstract ability to share concepts and ideas around our experiences and the full circle of what that means for humanity. And so something
Yeah.
that's definitely more on the woo-woo side of things, and yet it's very interesting with all the coincidences that line up around it,
Oh
is
yeah.
this year
Yeah.
2027. Have you heard anything interesting about the year 2027?
Excuse me. Uh, no, you know what? I don't think I have. I mean, I think I might have, but I can't recall anything at the moment. What are you
Gotcha,
hearing?
yeah. So there's different people who say different things, and one that I found as a nice little confirmation is one of my childhood teachers, Bashar, who's channeled through Daryl Anka, totally woo-woo, and yet I've loved it since I was a child, so I don't mind.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Very cool. Yeah.
He's saying that there is a high likelihood of obvious communication interactions between human beings and essentially extraterrestrial species in
Hmm.
this year of 2027. It's likelihood between this 2026, 2027 shifting of energies, there is the likelihood for open disclosure to occur. And so then human design and Ra'uruhu, the founding manifester of this system, he had this encounter with the voice during the year 1987. There was this massive supernova that happened, and this man, this media producer from Canada, had a crazy mystical experience that like took over his life for a week. And then some years later, he started talking about this thing called human design. And what he says is happening is in the year 2027 is that we will have the birth of the next species, which actually, in his words, it goes beyond what it means to be human. And he was given the word rave, Rave. And he
Interesting.
was actually given this word and he coined this word before the first raves ever happened in the United Kingdom or Britain, wherever it
Wow.
was.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredible because I used to go to rave parties when I was a kid too. Like that was the best. Electronic music, I love it.
Me too. Me too. I love that stuff.
And
Yeah,
so
man. Yeah,
one more
so
nugget
sorry.
on that is the differentiating factor between us and this next species is that we are here as unique individual human beings to become and to express our unique individual differences with each other without any worries about survival or not. Like, oh, it's fine.
Right.
Survival happens. Like, life is
Right.
beautiful and unique and perfect, and look at all these differences.
Right. Yeah,
And like, that's our job here. That's what I see it as.
I love
And
it. I love it.
yeah, that's so good. It's so good. I'm glad to hear that because the rave takes a different spin.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, it does.
rave is actually purely 100% utterly surrendered and devoted to the higher power, to the collective consciousness. And
There.
so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like genetically, and this could be in my theorizing why we have what was called the so-called original sin is more like biologically we have been testing what happens when we put consciousness inside of form and we didn't
Hmm.
get to that point yet wherein we're
Hmm.
fully 100% utterly selfless because we
Yeah.
have unique selves. You think you're different from me and I think I'm different from you, and that's beautiful. I love it. And yet that's what makes the next generation the next species so different is that they're utterly surrendered to the higher power, and they're working on a vibrational reality that is science fiction to us.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, no, that's really great. And it brings me to what something I talk about a lot. And I just say, this planet consists of people who are on levels of consciousness. Like animals have a low level of consciousness, and then some people have human beings have a much higher level of consciousness. But then the thing is, some human beings have much lower levels of consciousness than other human beings. And so, like, when you talk about 2027, my what I envision when you say that is that our level of consciousness increases at in 2027, and that's probably due to maybe some sort of catalyst, which, I believe that we're seeing catalysts almost every day. When you really actually start to see what's going on in the world with it from a 10,000 foot view, you actually start to see that, wow, these like freedom based, these sovereign, which I think sovereignty is like another massively important subject, but we won't go too far into that. But but like
I
you're
can touch
seeing,
on that too. So
yeah. So you're seeing politically, right? Like you're seeing like the more popular leaders be also pro sovereignty, and it's like that's just very interesting to see, in my opinion, because it used to be pro dependency on a government, but now it's like, now it's turning into pro, like, look, we can do this on our own, but we want to stay
I
within
think
our
I know why.
what's that?
Sorry to interrupt. I'll let you finish.
No, you're good. I didn't hear you what you said there.
Oh, I was saying I think I know why the movement towards sovereignty is a thing you might be seeing from the more what was traditionally simply obey us people.
Uh-huh.
There was a man named David Wynn Miller. Have you ever heard about him?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, in my understanding, it is actually his work and the misinterpretation, the misunderstanding, the incorrect use of his work that led to the entire movement called the sovereign citizen.
Oh, oh yeah. Okay, very nice. Yeah, somebody else understood that.
Essentially, yeah, yeah. I'll give a nugget on the story because it's something that it's just as profound to me as the human design is, because this is human history and American history, if it is to be believed.
Yep.
So essentially, this man, David Wynn Miller, his father was a Supreme Court judge. And I think David's wife and him, they had a divorce or something like that. And maybe she passed away. I'm not certain. At
Uh-huh.
any rate, David's father took the custody of his children away from him. And David was willing to do whatever it took to get his children back because his father was abusing his power as a Supreme Court judge.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And so David was a very intelligent man, and he argued back and forth with his father. I think it was around 80 or 90 times he took his father to court in order
Wow.
to get his children back.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
in order to actually go through this process, oh, that's nothing. That's a part of it. In order to actually do this whole work, he quite literally had to crack the code on the mathematical interface for language, because
Uh
nobody ever went to war over a math problem.
yeah.
And so he quite literally created this system that's called correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar.
Wow.
And then my understanding is quite literally, it was around the year 1999 and 2000, the turn of the century. America was leaving the third and final bankruptcy between France, and the actual American flag belonged to no one. And so it was David Wynn Miller and his business partner, Russell J. Gould, who essentially captured or purchased the flag as a symbol for the correct sentence structure system.
Wow.
Because with this system, which has jurisdiction over all of the contracts during any court authority situation wherein there is contract law occurring, correct sentence structure is the authority, and it uses this classical, I think it's 1 to 1.9 American flag. And basically what they do with correct sentence structure is that they mathematically certify by banking the values between 0 and 9 for every single word, or even every single letter, if necessary, every character, and certifying, has a fact been stated, or is this purely manipulation of language?
Wow. Wow. And you know what? I've heard of legalese, and so that tends to fit a lot right there. I mean, the legal system itself is very entrenched in ancient math, kind of like what you're talking about. And the words, they all have meanings, and all that. Like, you get into the words are spells, and you get into all that stuff, and that's like just a whole nother thing as well. But yeah, that is
It's really
very
trippy.
interesting. Yeah.
It's really
Uh-huh.
trippy, man. They're all speaking in what we can call adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, fiction, babble. It's basically word manipulation.
Right, right, exactly. Wow, yeah, no, and that's what's so crazy about. The American language is really interesting to me, but like where it's already 9:30, so we'll probably have to save that for another day as well. But yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
the American language, and like language in general, and like the Hebrew language, how Dan Winter talks about Hebrew language and how it's basically the symbols of that language that create portals and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
and
Sanskrit
it's
and Hebrew,
yeah.
both magic.
Right, right, exactly. And each one of the letters are designed based around like the flow of energy and stuff like that. Like it's really amazing. Like those concepts, like they really knew the most important things about being human. And it's like it's just a shame that like where we haven't been privy to that information, because this comes back to sovereignty. Because if we knew that information, we would become sovereign beings. There would be nobody that could enslave us the way that they do, like
We're
today.
getting
Like
there.
exactly. And so
Exactly.
like that's why sovereignty is such an important subject, because that really is the pinnacle of like breaking free from a control structure, right? Like, I mean, that's what sovereignty means, that's the definition pretty much. But I mean, it's just, people have Stockholm syndrome about the control structure that we're living in currently right now. And so it's going to take some pretty profound experiences and fulfilling things to happen in the majority of people's lives for them to really come around to being more sovereign. And you know what? People focus a lot on money. Maybe they just need to be a very successful country. Maybe crypto just needs to make everybody rich, because the way I see crypto turning into, like, I feel like there's a lot of really good people that are becoming millionaires, right? But so far, it's always been a lot of bad people who are millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires. I feel like crypto is bringing in millions of good people who are also millionaires. And I believe when all those people start to like create these charity coins, these cryptocurrencies that are all about charity and
A whole
all
new
about
world.
like farming. Yeah, I mean, when there's millions of millionaires doing that, then I think the entire monetary system ends up changing as a byproduct of that. And maybe that's what people need to start to become sovereign. Maybe when they realize, like, hey, and this is why I got so attached to crypto back in 2014, is because I was like, whoa, this has the ability, because I've been listening to Dan since like 2011, and he's always talked about sovereignty, and
Right.
so when I learned about financial freedom due to from your cell phone, like I was like, holy shit, like if that's legit, that's the answer to at least, or at least a big part of the answer of releasing people from this, like this, they're forced to work all these long hours and ruin their family, connections by doing all these things, and ruining their health by doing all these things. I mean, if there's a way that, yeah, we need a physical economy, we do need manufacturing and all that's not, and like we need blue collar worker, like all that stuff's very important. But, AI can take over a lot of that. And also, I think crypto just kind of really puts you in the situation where it will allow good people to do good things financially and by the millions. And so that's just my main point in terms of sovereignty. I think that'll be a very big driving factor for that.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. First thing I want to check is, are you pressed for time? Do you need to leave in a minute or two, or?
Well, I do unfortunately do got to go. I got someone here waiting for me at the moment, and so
Okay,
I
perfect,
got to.
perfect. I wanted to make sure I wasn't holding you up with anything. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing some time with me. It's been a real blast getting to share some energy. I want to ask if anybody wants to be able to communicate with you about something, would they be able to find you on Discord or Twitter or something like that? Can we add that to the show notes?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My handle, well, yeah, my handle is at sign golden M ratio, but surprise, surprise.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome.
that's my Twitter handle. And BitMat is my. But yeah, I mean, I can send you that. BitMat is my Discord, and then my Telegram is also G ratio. So you can contact me on all three of those.
That sounds good. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing some energy with me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
I thank you as well. And any other time I would have said, yeah, let's keep going. I'd have been on the phone for the next 3 hours with you, but it's just somebody's actually here, and that's the only reason I got to go. But I just want to say, really, really, really appreciate you having me on. Really appreciate you sharing your perspectives. I'm very grateful for you. I'm grateful for what you do. And I hope that you continue to do what you're doing because people like you are truly the shakers and movers in the future, the catalysts that we need for humanity to achieve that collective state of evolution, I guess, of consciousness growth. What you're doing is such an intricate part. And I just want to say I'm very grateful for you and thank you very much for everything you're doing and putting me and having me on here.
Hey, and I just want to say before you head off, likewise, right back at you. You might not think of yourself that way, but you're another hero in the world and to other people. And so thank you for doing your work and being yourself. So I hope you have a great day and have a good time. So we'll talk again soon, my friend.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thanks again. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye.
There we go.